If I don't want to have sex anymore, does that make me asexual? I'm Heather Elizabeth of AuthenticSexualU.com, and that's what we're going to tackle this week. Low libido, low desire, asexuality, and how these terms kind of interplay and relate and also don't relate to each other. So there's a lot of pressure in our society to be ready for sex at a moment's notice. This idea that if you're connected to your desire, if you're connected to your sexuality, you're kind of this like oozing sex pot who's always ready to get it on with whoever is around that strikes your fancy. But the truth is, that's not actually how a lot of people work and how a lot of bodies work. Just because you don't want to have sex with someone immediately doesn't make you asexual. Just because you don't feel like having sex with anybody at any particular time right now doesn't necessarily make you asexual. It's completely normal to go through periods of disconnection from our desire, low libido, any of these things. I think it's also completely normal to have asexuality as an identity and have that be something you really embrace, whether that is going to be a permanent thing for you over your life or just, a space that you pass through when you feel it fits you best. The truth is there's no easy one-size-fits-all answer. This is the kind of thing that you have to do some self-reflection on. You have to consider whether or not this is an identity you want to take on or if this is just a place that you're passing through. I pulled out this book here. It's Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. It's a really fantastic resource about how our bodies work, about how libidos work, how we connect to our sexuality, and what we can do when we're experiencing a disconnection from our sexuality. So if you're feeling disconnected from your desire, from your sexuality, and that's really bothering you, and you don't have a chance to talk to someone face to face and kind of work through that with someone, I highly recommend this book. It's got exercises, it's got tips, it's got kind of ways to make our own path forward to reconnect with our desire, either with ourselves or with our partners. It's available on Amazon, it's available in your local sex shop, so it's pretty easily accessible. It's got nice big print and it's not too academic. I mean, surprisingly, given that Emily has a PhD, there's also great little too long didn't read sections. So if you find it getting a little overwhelming in sections, usually there's a nice synopsis at the end for you as well. I think the other thing to keep in mind that doesn't necessarily get a lot of airtime in this discussion either is whether or not this is even a big deal for you. If you're not bothered by the fact that you don't have a strong connection to your libido right now, then I wouldn't consider this to be a big deal. There might come a point in your life later that you do want to be more connected to it, and that's okay. You can work on that then. You don't have to identify as asexual if what you feel you're experiencing is a low libido due to stress or illness or period of self-exploration. If identifying as asexual or gray sexual or demisexual feels like it offers you a kind of permission to sit in that space, then go ahead and identify that way. It's really helpful to think of labels as tools. They're things we can use to make things work for ourselves, to find communities, to do a little shorthanding when it comes to explaining our identity and how we feel about the world and how we feel we fit into the world with people. But especially when it comes to sexuality, it's not helpful to let our labels tell us how we need to behave, how we need to feel, or what we need to do in relation to the world. So if a label helps you, go ahead, pick it up, play with it for a little bit, spend some time there. If it doesn't help you, or if it makes you feel like you have to act a certain way to keep up that label, then that label's not so useful in your life. And I would encourage you to explore some new labels that might be a better fit. Or just spend some time being labelless and see how you feel about that. So that's what I have for you this week. If you've got anything to share on this topic, as always, I would love to hear your comments below. Feel free to share this video with anyone you think could use it, and I'll talk to you next week.